Bal Joshi is an artist of creative transience. His paintings, ink drawings, and sketches capture the ephemeral in nature as striking, if quiet, abstractions. He is also a greatly celebrated Marathi writer of deceptive and mysterious quietude. Sample this opening of Mirror in the Hall, the English translation of his remarkable collection of Marathi short stories titled Arsa Beta Gitla. As soon as I was born, the haze like reddish darkness faded and my eyes opened into a void where no light entered. I could only feel an emptiness encircling and sheathing me. Unquote. Add to that a third facet to his career as one of Maharashtra's most astute and well informed political journalists for over 4 decades, and you begin to get a measure of his diverse preoccupations. Prakash is now a full time painter based in Mumbai, and he's sold globally with growing recognition as a leading abstractionist from India. We are particularly pleased to have Prakash Bal Joshi as our guest today on Stars Aligned. We have as our backdrop your gorgeous painting titled Silent Evening.
Yes.
So I might as well start a little bit of that because I'm quite struck by that painting. Tell me a little story about that particular painting.
See, I remember doing that painting after I visited Igatpuri, a, a very beautiful place near Mumbai. Igatpuri, it's a hill station where I did my schooling.
Hmm.
So that effect of nature was on me, and all the greenery and the kind of amazing view, it had stuck in my mind. I did not do it on the spot, but when I returned back and I was in a studio and I was not even knowing what I was doing, like I had not decided to do that kind of work. But as I began doing it and I completed it, I realized that that Igatpuri effect is on me, which is reflected in that painting, which is there. I was really surprised to see it there in the background. I'm so
Yeah.
happy.
Maybe you should call it the Igatpuri School of Painting that you have founded.
It's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that sets me up for the main question. Were you a painter first or a writer?
No, actually, I have not decided anything as such. But as I recall and as I look back at my life itself, in my school days, I remember trying to write. Not necessarily like whatever comes to my mind. I was as a good reader as a student. I used to read a lot, and so I used to write. Then there was one essay competition by Maharashtra Times. It's a leading
Hmm.
Marathi paper in Maharashtra. So they had titled the competition as "From Home to School." So I said, let me try it out. So I just walked on from the home to school, came back and wrote about 300 words. And I'm telling you that 300 words, it was actually words kind of, it's a picture in the word, like the entire society, entire the small town was in that 300 words. That's how I began. And then because it was rich in nature and especially Igatpuri monsoon is a really godsend. You have to experience it. Like Mumbai rains is different, but Igatpuri rains is torrential and not only torrential, but the clouds they come from the valley, they climb up and they are in front of your eyes. You are sitting in your veranda and you're looking at a tree, and suddenly you'll find that the clouds are passing in front of you and you cannot see the tree anymore. A wonderful, magical experience. So I was kind of writing as well as doing, like I was not consciously doing drawing or painting as such, but I have a few drawing and sketches kind of thing which I have preserved from my school days, which I had done in about seventh standard. And I'm amazed, to look at that small work I've done. it was abstract, like it was nothing kind of realistic. We called it as a cave, kind of, like. So I thought that I'm entering into some cave.
I
So
see.
at that time, I wrote a cave.
Do, do you do you remember that particular essay today? What you might have written, a couple of lines, even if you recite it in Marathi, that would be wonderful.
Yes, like I just walked down from the house and I began describing what is around, because it's a kind of a small town, totally based and depending on a railway station. So the entire railway station and its system supports the town. So I was walking. मी आता चाललोय. चालताना तिथे घोड्याची लाईन असते ना, there is a rail train. So which you have to cross. There is no bridge or something like that. So I'm crossing that, and while crossing, I find that there are some laborers working at that overhead wire, and I'm writing that they were looking like monkeys. Then I walked a little bit more. Then there is a small mithai shop, called Samadhan. And then I wrote that I don't know what kind of Samadhan people get, because he uses old pedas, break, and prepare again new kind of fresh one,
Okay.
sell it. Then I went on describing people I saw and places I saw till I reached the school. Like there was a small pond where I learned to swim, and
Okay.
there was one person who was washing buffaloes. So I wrote that Pandu was washing the buffaloes. But I did not know that next, after that article appeared, I was congratulated by my principal and all. But the next day, my one of my classmates, he came to me and he started fighting because his father's name was Pandurang. So it
Oh.
took what is writing. That was my first lesson in writing.
Yeah. When you began to grow up from that particular era, did you think that your writing overlapped with your sketching and painting in terms of themes that you were pursuing?
No, actually, at that stage, it did not happen, because I was doing my drawing and my sketching and not painting as such, but whatever comes to my hand, whether it's a chalk or whether it's a pencil or whether it's watercolor, I used to start doing whatever paper I get. If I don't get a paper, I used to take the newspaper, use newspaper, and I used to just dribble kind of thing. But that clash, not after I began doing art seriously, and even writing, creative writing, I'm talking about. Then at some stage, I realized that as an author, as a writer, I am not able to express what I want to express in words. And then while writing itself, I went on to dribble, kind of doodling or something like that. So that kind of, I was not aware, but now as we are discussing, I'm just recalling it back.
Right.
And it developed so that I used to write. At the same time, I used to just what image come to my mind. I used to dribble. I used to sketch also.
Right.
Then later, after I completed my graduation and then went into writing kind of profession. Then I was writing a column. I was writing a column on based on my how I look at Mumbai city. As a journalist, I was traveling everywhere. As you have seen, me and both of us also traveled in Mumbai's small lanes and everything. So I used to write, and then I used to draw. So it was mixed kind of. I never decided if I wrote, and I used to write only 300 words, small snippet, and along with that, a kind of illustration. But it never happened that I completed my writing and then I do the sketching, or I did sketching first and then wrote. It happened that I was writing and doing the sketch also, both simultaneously. So
So
it
that
was an amazing experience.
yeah, you basically walking on two stools, two completely different disciplines, right? Writing and painting.
See, actually, writing and painting, these are two different canvases. It's very difficult. I mean, and it's amazing how your mind also travels from one place to another.
Right.
But since last 10, 15 years, because I was also writing, but there are two kinds of writing I was doing. One was professional, like kind of a reportage,
Right.
where it's very disciplined and you're kind of formula writing, like before you reach your office, your story is ready in your mind. You just sit on the typewriter and the story is out by 10 minutes. It was very mechanical kind of thing. But when it comes to creative writing, I realized that I cannot do creative writing in English, though I work all my working hours in Times of India in English journalism. But I realized somehow that writing is different and creative writing is different, and I'm not for writing in English. So I turned back to writing in my own mother tongue. But that also I was writing very little, like the way I do my painting. I don't go to my studio every day and do painting. I do it only when I'm inspired, only when something keeps and something wants to come out of me, then only I paint. Like that, creative writing was also like that. So I also write only when I feel really felt that I must write.
Right.
Before I started writing, that creative process was already over. It was already fermented and ready in my mind.
Right. Has it ever happened that what you express in words also gets expressed pretty close to that in your painting? You did talk about how you simultaneously do often, but has it ever happened that, say, for instance, you've written a short story and it immediately finds a visual expression or a manifestation? Has it ever happened like that?
That has happened, but that has happened without me knowing it. Or it has not happened like that. I wrote some story and then I did painting or something like that. But as you have asked me the question now, I really started thinking.
Mhm.
There is a short story which I wrote in almost in 76. It's called as Ticha Mungenchi Ram.
Uh-huh.
The story is called as Ticha. But I was young, and you know how young people think. So I was just describing how I went with the person I love
Mhm.
and went to a jungle, and I was describing the situation around, like that aroma of the wild flowers and the trees and the changing shapes as the sun is going down, and then there is this kind of a big cobra coming in front of me.
Mhm.
All of it. So, but that writing also, it was just collection of words. There is no grammar. There is no full sentence. There is no full stop. There is no apostrophe. It is just I've just collected words and thrown it in the bunch. Kind of a huge paragraph is full of words, and as you read the words, you get a feeling that it's a kind of a author is painting a word picture.
It's
And after many years after that, then I did one painting which little bit resembled to that kind of situation, but not exactly as such. But
right.
it happens. It is not because the creative process is very difficult to even understand for a person who is actually doing it or processing it.
Right.
Happens. It's very amazing when you actually try to understand it.
Yeah, no, it's. But I'm fascinated by the fact the way you described it. Even the stories that I've read of yours in English, it's almost as if even as a story writer, you are an abstract story writer. That seems to be your style.
Exactly, and those stories are not kind of formal story like you start and you have middle, you have some issues, and then there's some end with some twist or something like that. These are absolutely. I'm like in painting. I'm doing experiments all along and all the while. I'm
Mhm.
not separating myself. I just keep on working like that. Like that, even while writing short stories, and I wrote mostly short stories, few poems, but the poems you can, when
Yeah.
you're young, you try to write poems, those kind of poems. But short stories, I did it on my own, and I experimented trying to kind of analyze some characters. Not definitely only one person, but it was kind of a mix. Like I must have met some 4 5 people, and they might have some common kind of issue or common bent of mind, and I combined those things, and then the character appeared. So I was trying to understand that those kind of characters or their traits of personalities or the situations they faced,
Right.
and I wrote it in my own way. Like then I was even writing with the grammar also, or sometimes even uh, you breaking it also, but to get to the effect.
I see. That brings me to my next one. How does an abstraction begin in your mind? Because it is an abstraction, obviously, it has no definition to begin with. So when you start a painting, the one behind me is, of course, inspired by what you saw in Igatpuri. But these days, you mostly do a lot of abstraction. So describe to me the process of how an abstraction begins in your mind first and then goes to the canvas.
See, actually, as you have said, and the painting is just behind you. Earlier, I used to kind of see something if it inspires, not, but I never used to paint as it is. I used to process it in my mind, and then I used to paint it, and try to kind of in my own way. Like sometimes my sky is green and my mountains are blues, kind of thing. Like depends on how I feel about it. But as I went on my journey, like I just kept on doing. And one thing, I had not decided to become painter or something like that. I was not doing it for anything. I was just doing it for myself. And I must compliment some people in my life who really, really pushed me ahead. Like K.H. Ara, he was a great artist.
Yeah, great painter. Yeah.
Yes, great painter himself, self-taught artist. And I was introduced to him by one of my common friends, Whitey Sodari, who was professor in JJ School of Art. Whitey Sodari used to like my sketches. Those days I used to only do sketches. So he invited him and showed my sketches, which were again not, I'm not sketching building or I'm not sketching portrait or something, but these are some different forms which I imagine, kind of. So Ara had liked those forms, and he said, "ये कहाँ से आपको मिले?" मतलब मिले means आप दिमाग में तैयार होते हैं इस प्रकार से. So he said, "You should go on canvas, start working on canvas." Then I told him that I don't know anything about working canvas. He says, "That is also good in a way." He says, "You start working, like you get the material around, and you start and you do it on your own. You yourself will realize." Only thing is there are certain rules which for proper application of paint and keeping it properly and it should last long. All those things you should little bit understand and do the work. That is how I started doing. And first I was doing as I told you, but then as I grew also as a person, I read a lot. And then J. Krishnamurti had a great impact on me
I see.
as a philosopher, yes. Because he used to give once in a year, he used to give 8-day lectures in the JJ School of Art. It used to be, and I mean, since he was talking in JJ, and and so that gave me a kind of insight. And fortunately, I was introduced to J. Krishnamurti in my school days. As I
I
look
see.
back,
Yeah.
I had a teacher, Mr. Rupeshwarkar. He was his brother was in JJ School of Art, and who was disciple of J. Krishnamurti. So he used to tell us something about J. Krishnamurti, not his philosophy as such, but little bit of thing. Like he used to say from the window, he used to say, "Look at it. What is that?" So we used to say it's a tree. Then he used to ask us, "How do you call it a tree?" I said, "It's a tree because everybody call." Ah. Then he used to say, as J. Krishnamurti say, "You look at the thing which you are looking at." So then he says you must look at the things from your own, you must experience. And as I see now, when I go to the, like how I went into from realistic to abstract, slowly I realize that I don't need so many colors in my painting. I don't need so many kind of lines or forms in my painting. And that's how it began developing. And during 5-6 years, I am only into blue. Like I'm only
Right.
exploring for 6 years. It's amazing, blue color is amazing.
Yeah.
And, and really, there is no end to exploration.
There isn't. Yeah.
Meditation, absolutely. So
Yeah.
that is why I just, with the J. Krishnamurtis and of course, other readings also, like I realized that, it's not what you see. Things are much behind what you see.
Right. Right.
Often also I try to not only meet a person and talk to him or her, but try to understand, like put myself into that person and try to understand, kind of. So
Right.
both writing as my painting also was kind of exploration, kind of understanding things, which took me from realistic to almost abstract.
Right. You mentioned for the last 5 years or so, you've been doing the blue color a great deal. That prompts me to think about Picasso, who had a blue period, which was very prominent. And
Yeah.
brings me to the question that I've been wanting to ask. I know that among European artists, you have a particular admiration for Edward Munch. People might know him from his most iconic, which is, to me, it's tragic because it's not such a great painting as his paintings go, but it is the most famous painting of his, The Scream.
Yes.
I know that Munch is someone who inspires you. What about other European painters? Do you look at others as well?
No, I have seen, I have interacted with also because another thing I did was, as the internet grew, like right from the day when it was only text,
Mhm.
and I have been using internet and I have been interacting with many artists in Europe as well as in USA and other places, mostly Western countries, not so much to the East kind of thing, because I did not interact with them. So Monk I like because I like the way he used colors. Like there, see, if you see his painting, there are no borders, there is no line.
Right.
Of course, he's figurative, but more than making it realistic or figurative, he's more into feelings. Like for example, take the painting Scream. What is there in the Scream? If you look at it, you will see some child has done that. You see, but what he did was, he was representing, that painting was representing the kind of feeling prevalent in almost all over the globe.
Right.
Scream, kind of anxiety because of the world wars and all these things. So that was and to me that is very important to know. Like what you do, how you do is not so important than the way you express and what you want to express. That is very important.
Right. Right.
So how I liked Monk so much.
Yeah, there we share because I've been, in fact, I am obsessively looking at Monk very frequently. I mean, you and I have talked about that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Among other, say, let's come to India a bit. In terms of the Indian artists, always think of Gaitonde when I look at your work. I think I've told you are a worthy successor to Vasudev Gaitonde. What do you think of someone like him?
See, like Gaitonde also, I have seen his work, and I really admire his work. Basically, because because his approach to his art also is very philosophical kind of way he's looking at it. As he says, he doesn't like the word abstract. He says it's a formless. There's no form in it. I like his work, but right from the beginning, I don't know why, but I was obsessed with not following anybody,
Right.
and that is a great weight on your mind, because I have been going to, religiously going almost once in 2 weeks to Jahangir Art Gallery, which is the only place, is the kind of art hub in Mumbai for so many years. Like I used to do my work, and at least one Saturday I used to go there and see whatever art exhibitions are there. So I have seen exhibitions of almost all top Indian artists, at Jahangir during last almost 30 30, 40 years. I liked, I mean, the another person I liked most was Sabawala, Jahangir Sabawala.
Yeah.
His work is also a little bit of, I would not say spiritual, but something going beyond what you see, you know.
Right.
And but what he does is he's using nature and nature's form to express what he wants to say. Similarly, another artist, you know, who is a Russian artist but who settled down in India, and he was obsessed with Himalaya. You know. That is Nicholas Rory.
Right.
He has a art gallery devoted to his work in New York. You know. When I was in New York, I visited that gallery. You know. It was so his work also, like, not because he only does mountains, but it goes beyond that. You know, once you start looking at his work over the years, and you experience that these are not only mountains, but the artist is trying to tell you something much more.
Right.
Work of nature.
Right.
So these two, three artists, I mean, I'm a little bit closer to than so many others. You know.
Right. You know, Rorik, you mentioned, wasn't he connected with Devika Rani?
Yes, he was.
Were they married? I think they were married. I could be wrong, but it suddenly struck me that there was
After, yeah, she looked up his work, you know, and she promoted his work also.
I see. Okay.
When Jawaharlal Nehru had given him a small helicopter to go and have an aerial look at the Himalaya.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
His Himalayas are fascinating. I often look at his work too. They are quite remarkable.
Quite remarkable. And he has used all the colors, you know, like it's not only the way it looks, you know, his own imagination.
Right.
And through colors, he tried to pass on the message of the feeling he wants to.
Right. India has always had very rich, very vibrant art scene for maybe 3,000 years. It's always been around. People do art all the time. In that atmosphere, how do you manage to stay fresh? Because there's so much art, you're constantly surrounded by it. How do you manage that?
So much of art and so much of abstraction. You know? The Indian way of life is full of abstraction.
Right.
Even in the religion, you see the temples, you see all kinds of characters. You know, like there is a one called Bhutia. You know, he comes with his different kind of dress, and then he sings songs.
Right.
It's a kind of abstraction. You know?
It is.
Like abstraction. So actually, I was attending one of the art exhibition plus seminar in Dubai. You know, they had invited me to that, submitted one of my work. So there was one Western kind of curator, and he was saying that these people from East, you know, West Asia or Middle East, or so they do not know what is installation, art installation. They have to learn a lot. Then I intervened and told him that installation is part of our life.
Exactly.
Hundreds of thousands of years. I just gave them an example. The only thing is we don't look at it as a kind of art, you know, the way this is commercialized art is. For example, what is Ganpati? We bring the Ganpati, we install it for 10 days. Like Tabut,
Right.
that is also an installation. So like that, don't say we don't know what is installation. Only thing is we have yet to convert things from that to our own art practices, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I find so many youngsters, they are taking up different projects and they are looking inwards and at the same time looking globally also. Like just find out what's happening, because luckily for the young generation, internet is there. So with a click, they can see what is happening in Paris. They can see what is happening in London or in New York.
Right.
So it's a great advantage. So though it's a great advantage, at the same time it's a disadvantage also. Like you don't know where you stand and what you know, unless you yourself really feel and you develop your own process. It's very difficult. Otherwise, you get swayed away, you get influenced, and then your work also remain at that level.
Right. You have straddled three disciplines. One as a long-standing journalist, a serious political journalist for about 45 years, if not longer. You've been a writer for that long, and you've been a painter for that long. It's a rare combination. I don't know of too many others who do that. So tell me, how do you switch roles between the three?
I will tell you because see, I don't have that kind of. See, I have about 500 small diaries, the pocket diaries. So what I used to do, as I used to move around and make notes, take down some figures on the opening side of the book.
Mhm.
Backside, I started sketching. Whenever I used to sit in the bus or in the train or in the office or listening to some boring speeches by the politicians, I used to flip and then start my sketching. So that is how it remained. Like I was doing my painting and sketching in a very serious manner at
Mhm.
home, the proper studio and all. But I never exhibited my work.
Right.
Almost 20 years I was just doing it. Of course, I did some good work also. Like for example, there is a poet called Kusuma Grudge,
Yeah.
Knapheet awardee, and he has written one novel. So on the basis of that central character of Janavi, that novel's name is Janavi, I did that was in 85, 86. That time I did a painting on that, quite a last painting in oil, and presented to him. So he liked it. He says, "So you're writing and you're doing." I said, "Yes, this is my passion. I've been doing." But he says, "Is this in a watercolor or oil?" I said, "It's oil." Then he was, how it has become so transparent? It's so it's that kind of thing. I told him that your character itself is so transparent and so beautiful. So I did not have to do anything. I just
How nice.
just remain in the mind, and I just did like that. So it really happened like that.
Right. You have a background in chemistry, don't you?
Yes, I was a science student, but if you ask me, I don't
I
even remember benzene ring also because all those. But
no.
that really helped me because even now, as an artist, do you know what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
The project I'm working on it. It's called artificial intelligence,
Okay.
which is on the forefront. Like all the sciences put together, this is the happening thing which will take the entire humanity from what we're doing to the next step, which
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
after the industrial revolution. This is one of the major because we have not only created robots, but we have gone ahead and we have given input of feelings and reasoning power to those robots.
Right.
Robots will not carry out whatever equation is given to them, but we have empowered them to think on their own. So it's a real challenge. We don't know whether it's a curse or it's going to be a kind of a boon for humanity. And
Right.
I'm thinking that as an artist, I'm just thinking about what will happen and how human brain will adjust to this. Even as an artist, because see they have gone so far that they can have algorithm with three master artists clubbed together, and the artificial with the help of artificial intelligence, they can produce a different artwork together.
Right.
So they are into creativity also.
Yeah.
So I'm really thinking, and not only thinking, but also trying to just put it in my art processes and visualize seeing what will happen. Kind of
Is it a series of paintings or it's sculptures? What do you have in mind?
both. I'm working on both.
Oh,
Like
I
I
see.
will, yeah, I will have. Already done a series paintings on canvas.
Mhm.
I already have streamlined one project to create kind of installation. So I'm working on that. And there are a few other artists also who are working on the same lines.
Let me ask you a mundane question. You are a full-time painter,
Right.
and it's taken you quite a while to become a full-time painter because survival is always a question for journalists and writers.
Yeah.
How is it to work as a full-time painter who survives on the earnings of his paintings?
It's, see, I was lucky that I was doing some other profession for my daily bread and butter.
Yeah.
But I was serious and I was doing my artwork also. When my first proper exhibition was done, it was done by one art gallery owner. Then Shivani Virani.
Mhm.
He said, "You give me 4, 5 paintings of yours. I will keep it. I will show it to my art collectors, and then we'll decide whether to go in for exhibition or not." So I said, "Fine." So I gave her work. After 6 months, she said, "I have sold one of your work. After I sell your second painting, then we'll go in for exhibition." What she was, that was a great lesson I taught. I mean, learn from her that otherwise, okay, you're working, but if I want to do it again and I have to keep on doing it, then you need money also to just keep on going. I
Yeah.
cannot keep work unless my work has to travel. If work doesn't travel, then you get stuck. Then your creativity also gets stuck. It's very difficult. It happens with many people who are very good artists, but if they fail to take it to that level, then it's very difficult. And for youngsters, it's very difficult. But one thing also, because since I was not totally depending on it, I decided to take full liberty and do what I want.
Mhm.
But for somebody who is just come from the art school and who is struggling, it's very difficult to, because he has to see both. He has to see that his work is also sold. At the same time, he's not compromising on his creativity or his processes. It's a very, very tough job.
Right.
I would say it is much easier now than it was in 25 years ago.
I
Because now
see.
you have social media, you have got internet. So what you're doing, you can show it to the world, and at the same time, you can also see what is happening in the world. This, I think, is a win-win situation. But then you have to be very focused.
Right. Right. How long do you think your blue period will last? Do you have any inkling at all? Because it's been about 5 years, you said, right?
Thanks to Corona, I'm already out of it. So kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, because what has happened is after Corona pandemic, everything was locked down. My studio, which is near my house, but it was in the affected area, so I could not go there.
Mhm.
So I was at home. Luckily, I had a good number of archival paper with me, handmade paper, and some colors, some tubes initially. So I
Mhm.
started working, and of course, first few I did in blue. The blue color vanished. There was no blue color with me. Then I started looking at another colors, and now that I get it from like I can get the color by courier. So I got the colors and everything whatever I need. So kind of a makeshift studio I have at my home,
I see.
and I'm just doing it. And
Okay.
medium is different now, because I never use watercolor. I'm now working in watercolor, and I'm using all kinds of colors now. Like I've come out of blue thanks to
Okay.
Corona. It's
Uh,
not only affected my process, but it has affected my thinking also, as a human being. Like the way we are living as a rabbit in your home
right.
for months.
Yeah.
So it has affected me as an artist, and as you say, I think I'm a bit out of my view now.
Okay. As an abstract painter, do you face the inevitable question when people look at some of your work and say, "What's that?"
Absolutely, everywhere you go.
What do you say that? What do you say to them?
So I said, look at it. Come tomorrow, have a second look, and then I will answer. Then
Okay.
that painting, especially when there is no form, or it's not realistic painting, then you have there is no meaning, because abstract painting, what I'm doing is, it is beyond reasoning, it is beyond logic, it is directly hitting not only your brain but it is hitting you hard. So unless and until you experience the work in front of you, unless and until you get some feeling out of it, you will not. So there is nothing to understand, there is nothing to know, but it is to feel. Then they start, I said, not necessarily all the works will be kind of where you like. There might be some work where it will attract you. You do not know why you get stuck to that, or why you're standing in front of there is a, say, 5, 10 paintings, while passing in front of them. Some painting you will just stand there and look at it, give a second look. Why are you doing that? Because it has connected with you. There is a link between that, whatever colors and whatever forms, whatever the artist has tried to say. Somewhere, some in your life, you have some kind of experience, or it has taken you back to some. It's a kind of what you say, a kind of link which is taking you back to your own experience.
Right, right.
And another thing I realized that I have exhibited almost all continent, like right from New York, America to many countries of Europe, even in Russia, and so many places, and attended some art camps. What I have realized that this is really universal language, which goes beyond words. You don't
Right.
need words. Even some of my many of my paintings, they don't have titles also. They are untitled, so you don't need title also.
Yeah.
Person coming with a totally different background, social, religion, language, country, he stands in front of your work. Either he likes it or he doesn't like. If he likes it, he enjoys that work.
Right.
Amazing experience I'm feeling.
And India has had a millennial tradition of nirgun, formless, as we were talking about. So I think impulsively or intuitively, Indians may identify with abstraction without the kind of question that I'm talking about. Of course, young people still ask you, what is that supposed to mean? But nirguna is part of Indian thinking forever.
Yes, and that is what you like. You then you become like minimalist. Like and many colors. Like it happens with me. Like many colors have disappeared. There is no form. It just flows. There is a turbulence. It's not quite because I have not reached that stage of. These are also kind of. I'm not saying it's a spiritual, but again, blue color is also reflects that. The people who are into spirituality and those who are doing kind of mind exercises, they tell that you reach a stage where you are neither liberated nor you are attached to the day-to-day material work. That stage in between, where you need some kind of guru, as Oriental thinking goes, you need somebody to emancipate you. You can't do it on your own. That's how we whole is built up. So at that stage, you see blue means blue, which you see in the sky, which you see in the sea. But beyond that blue, there is total darkness. There is total gray.
Right.
So there is a lot of scare also. But that is what you keep on doing. You try to get out of it and do it. So there
We,
is a
yeah.
aspect to this kind of work.
We live in the times of frenzied social media projection by all kinds of people all the time, 24/7, in fact. My question is, how important do you think showmanship is to an artist? And do you have to employ it once in a while to get attention?
At some stage, I realized, see, I would not have done it because I never did it. I did my work for almost 20 years, 25 years without showing it to anybody. I don't show it to anybody, except some people like, for example, R.K. Lakshman.
Right.
And I used to do something and put it behind my typewriter. Those days used to be
Right.
typewriter. So once or twice he saw it because he has very observing eyes. He saw this. What is this? I said, "I have my sketching work." He says, "You do sketches also?" I said, "Yes." Then he says, "This is a good work. Why don't you exhibit them?
I see.
Yeah, but to actually exhibit that work, it took me another 15 years.
Okay.
So I'm not that, but at the same time, I know that once my work is done and people really appreciate like it, then I have to make them available to people to see it.
Right.
And and now, as I said earlier, the social media, internet is available without spending anything. You can do that. So why not?
Yeah. Prakash, I can't let you go without talking about worldly things. A couple of questions about what you do as a journalist or what you've done for a long time as a journalist. As I said, you are one of the most astute observer of politics in Maharashtra specifically and India generally. I wanted your opinion on what you think broadly is going on in Maharashtra or especially in Mumbai with the Shiv Sena in power.
See, as I see, like I have no touch now. Like the last 10 years, so after I left my profession as such, then I stopped writing also.
Mhm.
I have no connection. I know almost, as you know, I know almost everybody, but I am kind of in my studio only. So I don't go out. And even if I go out, I go again meet a couple of people who are interested in art and artists or art critics or something like that. So I'm not in touch with the day-to-day kind of politics which I covered for so long, and I really had an insight, and that insight also helped me a lot, as a, as a writer or as even as a, when I'm painting,
Hmm.
to paint what people must be thinking. Like I want to uh, kind of vent in my own way, personal way, but it should be such that people will also be part of it. So what has happened now is, I think, not only in Maharashtra but even India, and not only India but all over the world, a lot of changes have taken place. You see, even USA.
Right.
So I think there is some fundamental changes have happened. There are some, as we say in science, tectonic shifts. So I think in a politics as well as in social life also, there are tectonic, because not only merely based on socio-political things, but technology is a great intervention. You
True.
see, in 10, 15 years, the way the technology has developed, and you see Facebook and Twitter and everything, how they're using it,
Yeah.
and
Well,
how
we
people.
we have a president who became president on Twitter. So,
So, so I think the whole thing is changing. So it's no more what it was, say, about a decade ago.
right, right.
And there is a new generation which has come up.
Yeah.
New generation of politicians, new generation, the young generation, they also see, for them, their future also is there. So even in the art, since I'm mostly into art now, I also feel that the younger generation, especially in India, they are also looking at artwork and artists from a different perspective. They are now globetrotters. Like they have been seen Paris, USA, London, all the big museums and galleries, and they have also developed a different kind of taste, which 10, 15 years ago, all those traditional art buyers used to buy
Right.
a particular work, of
Yeah.
particular. But this young generation is more demanding, and I would say more global in their view.
Yeah.
All those things are happening now.
To conclude, tell me about, in terms of new short stories or new paintings, what are the things that are exciting you the most right now?
Actually, I'm facing this so difficult. Like last say 5, 6 years, I'm not writing much. Like even if I try to, I'm not able to write.
I see.
The words are totally almost disappeared. They don't come. So I think in terms of the colors and just my canvas.
Okay.
So I don't know. I may, like, I'm not saying that I've totally stopped writing. I may write also, but I don't know. Like,
Okay.
it's spontaneous, because even if I do my painting, whereas I'm standing in front of my empty canvas, I try to empty my mind also. Nothing in the mind. I leave it to my inner self and just do what that inner feeling is. So I'm
Okay.
a different.
Yeah, your zone has completely changed.
Yeah.
Now that's
All Mumbai and politics, and all, as if I have climbed some Himalaya or something like that. I'm looking down, the lights are dimming, So,
I
so I'm
agree.
about what's happening there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
your questions also, it was most of a kind of loud thinking. Some of them were very provocative, which forced me to look back and think, and then
That's
uh,
nice of you to say. Yeah,
thank
as I said, I've often told you about your remarkable abstraction, so I thought I'll keep my questions along those lines.
yeah. That's. I really enjoyed that our
No,
conversation,
great. No, this
and
is terrific.
I hope people will like. I mean,
Then I'm sure they will. Thank